Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's your brother Nafis Abu Zayd.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother Isa Abu Isa.
Alhamdulillah, we are still currently dealing with our 5-minute wake-up session, and we are currently on the article that was put together by our brother known as the White Lamont Battle, Abu Aliyah, who have a PhD in the Dar Hadith. The name of this particular article is called Quote Characteristics Among the Salafis in the West, and we have reached up to the chapter 1, which is the existence of the pseudo-Salafi sect. And we explained a little bit that pseudo here mean like fake, a sham,
exactly.
Someone who's not what they say they are.
SubhanAllah.
Go ahead.
Phony.
Phony.
Like that, in layman terms.
In layman terms. In other words, they are not what they say they actually are.
SubhanAllah. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him, said, verily many people attribute themselves to Ahlul Sunnah or Ahlul Hadith or Salafiyyah. There are many people who attribute themselves to Imams like Ahmed and other than him, and the Aqeedah of Abu Hasan Ash'ari. Nonetheless, their speech does not fit the criterion of the thing that they affiliate themselves with, so to have knowledge of this is a benefit.
So here we see that Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, he had mentioned that there are those who have took on the characteristics or ascribe themselves and attribute themselves to Ahlul Sunnah, Ahlul Hadith, and Salafiyyah. So that you know that when he used these different descriptions here, Ahlul Sunnah, Ahlul Hadith, and Salafiyyah, it's all the same thing. They're synonymous.
Yeah, synonymous.
So here they're synonymous. I mean, there are people who they walk around with the cloak of those who say they really are from Ahlul Sunnah. And most people don't know, as Sheikh Salih Ali Sheikh Hafizullah, he mentioned in this explanation to one of the great books that was authored by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, which is known as Aqeedah Wasatiyah, when he explains about Ahlul Sunnah, right? That people don't know that Ahlul Sunnah was a term that was coined by the people of the Sunnah. It was the people of the Sunnah that gave them that name. It wasn't any other sect that came along. And there was a reason why they explained why they was known as Ahlun, those people who are not just a people, but those who are entitled, and the Sunnah, the people who are here to the Sunnah, you know, to the actual Sunnah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the word Sunnah, as the scholars have explained, there are many meanings. According to the people of Hadith, it have one meaning. According to the people of Fiqh, it has another meaning. According to the Sharia meaning, legislatively, it has another meaning. According to the linguistic meaning, it also has another meaning.
Exactly.
However, the people of Sunnah here incorporates all of those meanings. So that you know, here we're talking about the people who are here to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether it's his statements, his saying, his silence, his actual approval, his mannerism, those things in the way that he would derive, those rulings, those things like that. All of that is there. Those people who are here to it wholeheartedly. You know, they are here to the asad need. They're authentic chains that mention that the Prophet was sallam. So they are Ahlul Hadith and Salafiyyah. There are many people who attribute themselves to Imams like Ibn Ahmed and other than them.
Exactly.
And we know that this is normally what people do. People want to be associated with those who are, you know, who are known to be pious or to be righteous. So they say, yeah, I'm with so and so. In actuality, they really aren't.
No, you'll find, like, even you go, anybody who travel overseas, you'll see a lot of the people. I've seen people who obviously had some effects of the Khariji manhaj and things like that, but they read the books that they use things of Sheikh Salih Fawzan. And we know Sheikh Salih Fawzan is free from these people, but they use statements of Ibn Taymiyyah or Ibn Muhammad Wahhab, and then these glorious imams, these righteous imams of the Sunnah is free from these groups. But at the same time, you have to attribute yourself to people like that, so maybe you can get other people to listen to you. It's really a ploy. It's a ploy.
It's definitely a ploy.
It's a ploy.
Continue.
And a statement of Sheikh Muhammad Sa'id al-Islam, rahimahullah, said, everyone who claims he adheres to the Quran and Sunnah, adheres to the Quran and Sunnah and relies on them is Salafi. However, the crucial factor lies in the facts. For that reason, some scholars dislike calling themselves Salafi or using the word the Salafist or saying Salafi.
Right. So when you look at it here, Sheikh Sayyid Raslan, he said everyone who claims he adheres to Quran and Sunnah and relies on them is Salafi. Everyone who claims this is Salafi. However, and this is important, the crucial factor lies in the facts. For that reason, some scholars dislike calling themselves Salafi or using the word Salafi or saying Salafi. Now, do not get this confused. The scholar here is not saying his opinion that he himself doesn't like to take on the title as Salafi. Take on the title Salafi, or think that the title or the description of Salafi can be used or applied. That's not what he's saying here. He's saying some scholars, due to the fact that people who claim to follow Kitab wa Sunnah and adhere to Kitab wa Sunnah is automatically understood that these people are upon the Dawah to Salafiyyah. So the scholars dislike to ascribe themselves to that particular understanding. Scholars dislike to describe themselves upon that particular understanding by the permission of Allah, for the simple reason that by the permission of Allah Azza wa Jal, for the simple reason that by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, that they hold on to as Salafiyyah, to ascribe to as Salafiyyah. Here Sheikh Raslan is saying they don't like to call themselves as Salafi, they like to do it in their actions, because claims can just be made on statements, and then people, later on he's going to mention this, but people, they make claims and assertions and say, okay, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, look at that person's actions. Let's see if it's in alignment or in agreement with that of the Dawah to Salafiyyah. Let's see if it's in according with the Salaf in the Dawah to Salafiyyah.
So basically what you're saying is that if I meet someone and I don't know who this brother is, right? Example, real life example. I don't know him, and I meet this brother. I talk with him for a while. Maybe I follow him on his page, and everything he's saying, he's coming from the books of the ulama. He's coming from the statements of the Salaf. He's coming from the statements of the companions. And I never hear him say the word Salafi, but from his actions and what he's teaching, he automatically gets that title. He automatically. And this is what I'm understanding from Sheikh Said Raslan's statement, that an individual, he doesn't, just because you never heard him use the term before. I remember when I asked Sheikh Muqsim Malouk one time, the question that was asked to him, he said, if somebody asked me what's my manhaj, or what's my what manhaj am I following, what group am I following, Salafi and stuff like this, he said every time a place there's a need for you to say that word, I'm Salafi. Every time a place there's a need. So you don't need to say that to the man in the store. You don't need to say that to the man selling you food. You don't need to say that to the man walking up and down the street. He said, because the general Muslim is not, you're not in need to say that to the general Muslim. He said, if a situation calls for it, for more detail in a particular situation that you're having with somebody, a conversation, that's different. He said, but our jama'ah is that imam in the Amatul Muslimin. The imam of what particular country you live in, and the Muslimin who live in that land. This is the jama'ah of the Muslims. And he said the word Salafi, we use it in situations where it needs to be used, but you don't use it against the general Muslim on a daily basis. And this is what his response was.
So in other words, basically what Sheikh Raslan is saying here is that many people claim something, but we don't look at the claims that they make, we look at their actions.
Exactly.
So that's why he say that the crucial factor is what lies in the facts. Is their actions in alignment and according to that of the Salaf? Is it in alignment with according to the call of the Salaf and the manhaj of the Salaf? That's what we're looking for. So you're going to have many people, as henceforth the title of this particular chapter is talking about those who are false.
No.
They make claims.
It looks like it outwardly.
Outwardly, it might seem like they are following that. You can continue as you can see, inshallah.
Sheikh Abdul Salam ibn Burgess, rahimahullah, he died in the year 1325 of the Hijrah, said, regretfully, I must say, there are some Muslims who make Salafi a hizb, like other groups of Hizbiyya, Ikhwaniyya, Tabligh, Tahrir, and Allah frees us from the guilt of the actions of those people. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of their actions.
No. So the Sheikh pretty much made it clear that there are some Muslims who make Salafi a hizb. There are some people who, just like the Ikhwani, the Tablighi, and so forth, what I understand from this is that there are some people who, when they say make Salafi a hizb, meaning that they restrict Salafiyah. And they make it, they restrict it either to a certain group, a certain ideology, a certain set of principles. This is Salafiyyah. Salafiyyah is these amount of principles here, and whoever doesn't come in this manner or in this methodology with these particular principles, then they're not Salafiyyah. Actually, Salafiyyah is Deen al-Islam.
No.
Salafiyyah is Deen al-Islam. There is no, the Deen of Islam, is not free from Salafiyyah.
Exactly.
Vice versa, the Salafiyyah is not free from the Deen of Islam. So for a person to make Salafiyyah restricted like that,
SubhanAllah.
you understand what I'm saying? It's like what the Sheikh is saying here. They have made it a sect like the Hizbiyah, as if it has a founder. And this particular founder, you know, he came with a set of principles that we're supposed to take these principles. Okay, exactly. You want to be technical. Salafiyyah started with Adam, alayhi salatu wasalam.
Exactly.
Okay, so if, you know, people think, okay, for example, they think that, you know, Salafiyyah is separate from Islam. Nah.
No.
Salafiyyah is Islam.
It is Islam.
Okay, the pure understanding of Islam. Salafiyyah is that. So this is what I get from what the Sheikh is saying. He's saying people coming along and they're making it restricted.
So certain names, a certain place, a certain
set of principles.
Yeah.
And if you don't come with these set of principles, then you are outside of Salafiyyah. And this is why it's so easy to take a person outside of Salafiyyah.
Yeah.
Of course, you can take a person outside of Salafiyyah as a sect, but you can't take a person out of the fold of Islam.
Exactly, because Islam, even the guy who sells the halal platter, he's technically inside of Salafiyyah. Why? He's a Muslim. So generally speaking, he has the title of being a Salafi automatically until you see from an individual something that's outside of the real principles of Salafi, not make-believe principles that you make to take people in and out of it.
Because you got to understand, when you say Salafi, you have to understand this nisbah. Mm-hmm. What is this nisbah?
SubhanAllah.
All of the ulama explain when you say Salafiyyah, you're talking about two things. You must make sure you understand. One, you're talking about the Salaf. Mm-hmm. You need to know who they are. Two, you're talking about ascribing yourself to them in their Aqidah, in their creed, in their manners, right, in their akhlaq, and their way that they would carry out things, in their mu'amalat, in their transactions, how the interactions, how they would deal with one another. All of this is considered what's called minhaj. And Sheikh bin Baz, rahmatullah ta'ala, mentioned. He said all of this is considered what is minhaj. This understanding that minhaj is separate. I don't understand. Like, you know, people think like, okay,
his Aqidah is okay, but his minhaj isn't. How is that even possible?
Actually, to apply the correct Aqidah, you have to apply it according to the manners of the Salaf.
Exactly.
So the Salaf already laid down that minhaj from the Quran and the Sunnah that which they took from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the way that you have to have it. There's only one correct minhaj. The different manahij, we already know. It's like the different surah. No. They are all crooked if they are not upon that which is the Prophet ﷺ and his companions.
Even if it has Islam written on it.
Exactly. And this is important to understand. This is why the Sheikh is saying they have made it like Ikhwani, Taqliqi. They have made it seem like it's different sets of Hizbiyah. Salafiyyah is Islam. And we already know the famous statement that what? The Sunnah is Islam from Imam Barbahari. And what? Islam is the Sunnah.
And just to bounce this off you, Salafiyyah, or Islam, it's what the Salaf made ijma' upon. So what they came together and said, this is from the religion. They all agreed upon it, or most of them agreed upon it. This is what Salafiyyah is, and it's Islam. It's the same thing. You can't separate the two. So inshallah, let's continue. Ibn Taymiyyah said, any affiliation to something which causes disunity among the Muslims, separation from the Muslim body, and causes people to divide into groups isn't allowed. This is the path of innovation and separation from the Sunnah and adherence to the person who affiliates himself with anything that causes
adherence to it.
Adherence to it. The person who affiliates himself with anything that causes partisanship is a sinner by this action and outside of obedience to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
This is extremely important. This statement of his. Over and over, you hear Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned in the Quran. He tells Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Surah Al-An'am and different other surahs, Suwab, that Allah Jalla wa Ala say, do not, you have lasta minhum fi shay. You have nothing to do with them. Those who divide their religion into sets. Kulli hizbin bima ladayhim farihun. And each set is pleased with that which they, or rejoice with that which they have. Mm-hmm. This is an important point that the Sheikh is hitting on. Number one, any affiliation, any association, anything whatsoever that you ascribe yourself to, affiliate yourself to, clings to, adhere to, or hold on to, which causes disunity. And this is why it's very important. I know sometimes we cloak it and say that, the truth separates from Baltim. Mm-hmm. There's so many people say that's the truth.
That's the truth, yeah.
The truth definitely separates from Baltim. And, we say it ain't us causing separation. It is the people it is the truth that is causing separation amongst the people. All of these statements are true. However, if you find an individual adhering to the same thing that you are adhering to, and y'all are still not unified, y'all still separated, something is wrong. Because that means you're either not adhering to the same thing, you're either not holding to the same thing as y'all claim, because if so, it wouldn't cause disunity. If y'all from the same body of Muslims. Notice what he said. He said which causes disunity amongst the Muslims. Number one, that's the Muslims, period.
Mm-hmm. Not just the Salafi that you.
Okay, that's the Muslims, period. Yeah. Then he said separation from the Muslim body. Okay, all right, and causes people to divide into groups isn't allowed. Okay, well, we have the true and correct understanding of Salafiyyah, so hold on, we are over here. I don't know what they are. They're unclear. I hear what they're saying. Yeah, they quote the same scholars we quote, but they're still unclear. Yeah, they recite the book and understand the book away according to some. That's unclear. That's separation. Yeah, they adhere to the same methodology in terms of things of how we're supposed to do something, but that's unclear. So we have this over here, and you have that over there, but we're both saying the same thing. Doesn't this remind you of something? Allah Jalla wa Ala said, وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودِ لَيْسَتِ النَّصَارَ عَلَى شَيْءٍ وَقَالَتِ النَّصَارَ لَيْسَتِ الْيَهُودَ عَلى شَيْءٍ وَهُمْ يَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابِ. Allah Jalla wa Ala said, the Jews, they say to the Christians, you stand upon nothing, and the Christians say to the Jews, you stand upon nothing, but yet they recite the same book.
They've had the same book. They got the same, the Injil and the Torah in their hands.
The same copy. So y'all saying professing to follow the same thing. Why y'all divided?
Subhanallah.
Why y'all divided? This is important. What Sheikh Islam Taymiyyah is saying here is very important. This is the path of innovation. Now he identified those who do this. Now the Sheikh is identifying. He's saying that those who cause disunity amongst the Muslims separate themselves from the body of Muslims, all right, and divide into schisms and groups and different sects, no matter what they call them, whatever lofty titles they call them, whatever claimants they made, whatever scholars are behind them, or scholars that they throw their name around, put themselves and associate with them. This is the path of innovation and separation from the Sunnah and adherence to it. Meaning the person not only separates from the Sunnah, he separates from the tenets and those things that the Sunnah commands.
SubhanAllah.
He separates from it. And the last line, he said, the person will affiliate himself with anything that causes hizbiyah, partisanship. That causes partisanship. Which just tells us that the deen of Islam doesn't cause partisanship.
It doesn't call to it. But we find that these individuals, they call to it. And what did he call them? They sinners.
Well, the individual who does this action, he said they are sinning by the action.
Yeah, they're sinning, yeah.
Right? The person who affiliates himself with anything that causes partisanship is a sinner by this particular action. This action himself, because he aligned himself with those who had divided themselves into groups.
SubhanAllah.
Okay? And outside of the ta'ah, the obedience of Allah Azza wa
Jalla. Showing that Allah and His Messenger never called to His biyah.
Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Never.
They never called to it. They never called. In fact, you look at Ati Allah, Ati Rasul, Uli Amri Minkum. That ayat, obey Allah, obey His Messenger, and those in authority, calls to staying together.
No.
The Muslim body here means the Imam, not the Imam in the masjid, or Imam of a particular group. The Imam of a land, the king of a land, that's his land. He's the head of the body, and the rest of the body is the Muslims. Islam never spoke about the Muslims as separate from one another. Never.
No. That's important.
Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah said, Salafiyyah, that is taken to mean a special party with specific rules whose members consider anyone who differ with them as astray, then they have nothing to do with Salafiyyah.
This is the same thing online. Salafiyyah that is taken to mean a special party with specific rules whose members consider anyone who differ with them as astray. This is even more clear-cut than the previous statements. Okay? This here is sort of what Sheikh Burgess, Salim Burgess, rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, what he was hitting to as for those amongst us who is dividing to sects. And it's not the point of just reading this article and not stopping and elaborating.
No, you gotta stop.
I want to stop and elaborate because I want to highlight some points that stick out to me. And what sticks out to me here is that he made this so specific when he said that the taking the means of a special party, an elite group. Let's think about that. Look at that line of thinking. If a person believes that only they understand Islam, or only they are the best ones to practice Islam, or they're the best Salafiyyun, or they are the best of this, if they understand that their way and understanding is the only way, and that they're the elite, that this knowledge somehow only rests with them, and that they now have taken upon themselves the responsibility of saying that who can and who can't and who this and who that. This type of concept.
Didn't the Jews and Christians do this to their priests and rabbis? They made priesthoods. Only the priest and the rabbi has the specific knowledge. Only they can read the books. Only they can disseminate the information.
That's a strong point.
Yeah, that's what they did. They took, because you got to go. You only can go to them to confess your sins. You only go to him to get a blessing. You only can go to him to learn the Bible. You only go to him to get the direct knowledge.
Made themselves an authority.
They did, without a law's permission, though.
Without a law's permission.
Law never gave the Jews and Christians, the priests and rabbis, the permission to say that we have the knowledge and you don't.
No one gave anyone the permission.
No.
Besides that of the Kitab wa Sunnah, which is unrestrictedly must be complied to, and the ruler must be complied to.
Yeah.
This is why it's very important. Sami' wa ta'a. That's a fundamental principle amongst the Aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, amongst that of Salafiyyah. Right? So why is a person acting and taking on the role as if they have the right and is authorized because they have done what the Sheikh is saying here? They made themselves into a special elite group.
SubhanAllah.
Whereas though we can tell you who's upon Salafi or not. Come to us and we'll let you know. We are reliable.
Scholars don't do that.
These are the terms that are used. We are reliable. We are on the ground. We know the people that is here.
So the inheritors of the prophets, they don't even do that.
And that's so much so that Shaitan didn't fool us that they believe that we can test each other by each other. So now they go to the concept, we test this individual with this. Not saying that testing is not something that has been done by the Salaf. Yes, test has been done, not by the specific Salaf.
No.
It wasn't been done by the specific Salaf. When we say that, we mean talking about the best three generations.
The best generation.
But by the Salaf at the Dam in a general sense, it has been done. And we're not saying that
when it's needed.
But to say now that I'm going to take on this special characteristics that I'm the one who you should consult with to let you know whether that person is clear or unclear, something is wrong. Just like you said. It's like the priesthood.
Like the priest and the rabbis.
It's like the rabbis.
Yeah.
That is scary. And that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with right now. So we have to ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to free us from that. And this is why the Sheikh Muhammad Tamimi said we have nothing to do with them. He said this Salafiyyah, we have nothing to do with them. Why? Because they have special rules. What is those special rules? So a set of qawaid that doesn't exist. Where's these principles that,
where you pray at, what masjid you go to, who you listen to, if you're affiliated with this particular individual, this particular masjid, you need to have those criteria to be Salafi. Those are make-believe principles that you can't find in the books.
And look how the propaganda spread. There are only 3 masjids, or there are only 4 masjids that are upon the correct dawah. This statement in and of itself, people think is harmless. It's not harmless. It's a statement that is coupled what we call hizbiyah.
No, it is.
It's partisanship.
It's partisanship.
Because first of all, you didn't say fima a'lam or fima na'lam. Number one, you don't know every masajid. You're not Allah Azza wa Jal in the land or city that you reside in. So it would have been better to safeguard yourself and said, according to the best of our knowledge, these particular masajids, we are aware of them, and this is what they call to. But to say that they are only, now you place hustle, what is called a restriction, and also you're claiming that anyone outside of these ones that you mentioned are not upon the truth. Dangerous.
So that's a person, place, or thing concept.
Exactly. It's dangerous for the people who spread it, for the laymen, and it's dangerous for those who know better, from the du'at, so the students, to allow the laymen to continue to spread it. I heard an individual actually say this in the khutbah. There are only 3 masajids that are upon the dawah to Salafiyyah. Dangerous. And these statements continue to go on. And we spread them on social media. We do this and we think it's nothing wrong. There's something wrong with that. That's what he's talking about. A special set of party, a special set of rules. These particular people, these the only one who consider anyone who differ with them. How do the brothers view so-and-so?
SubhanAllah. So again, a priesthood.
Is he good with the brothers?
You have a priesthood. We have a priesthood now.
Can we take from this particular brother? How do the brothers deem you?
May Allah help us.
Not, do we have scholars? Do we have teachers? How long have he sat? Did he study? Did those particular scholars tell him to come back to spread the knowledge? Did we call his teachers?
Well, just listen to his speech. Does it coincide with the Salaf or not?
No, we got to check them with the brothers.
No.
Because this is what Sheikh Uthaymeen said. We have to check them with a specific group of people.
No.
A specific party. How do the brothers look at him? I don't know him. Okay, it's okay to be leery of a person you don't know. No one's saying you don't have to do that. It's okay to ask if you don't. No one's saying you don't do that. But now do you make your basics on if the brothers don't know him, if the brothers aren't cool with him or don't agree with him, now we make it and say, okay, he differed with the brothers, so we don't take nothing from him.
So you're saying that making a wala on a specific group isn't from Islam? Making allegiance and disallegiance based upon a statement of a particular group is not from Islam.
This is what Sheikh Uthaymeen is saying.
No.
He's saying these people who do this, then they have nothing to do with Salafiyyah.
No.
SubhanAllah.
The statements of the aforementioned scholars, and this is now the statements of our brother Abu Aliyah, explicitly illustrate the presence of those who misuse the pristine title of Salafi and by it divide the Muslims into a forged Hizbi sect. They, the scholars cited, didn't dislike its affiliation in and of itself. Rather, when using the word Salafi causes people to divide into groups, it becomes blameworthy, even though they carry this honorable title. Thus, the people form a new group. These people form a new group, the Salafists.
Okay, let's stop. The Salafis, right? What the brother is saying is valid, and I agree with this.
No,
it's valid. One, I don't deem that he is attacking any specific people here.
No,
I'm gonna keep saying this as we go over this article, because the more I read it, the more I realize. When I was overseas, I didn't see the ulama when they gave talks, and I sat in Sheikh Islam classes. That every time he gave a talk, behind it was Salafi. Like that word, I didn't even hear the word.
I never heard the word.
I didn't even hear the word.
I never heard the word.
It's understood that he's coming from that, which is Kitab wa Sunnah ala Fahm Salaf.
And he did Dar al-Nadid, he did Aqid al-Sunnah wa Jama'ah.
I came when he was doing Dar al-Nadid.
He never used the word Salafi, the whole class.
And it's like, here, it's a totally opposite in the West.
No.
The Salafi events. The masjid is open by the Salafis. The Salafis is doing this. This is a Salafi gathering. So much so that the laymen have started to call themselves, and they got the social media names, Tariq as Salafi. This as Salafi. But you don't see none of the shuyukh doing this.
You don't, Sheikh. And the only people I've seen doing it, again, I'm reiterating, the only people we saw plastering Salafi around on their masjids, on banners, was the known Hizbi organizations that existed in Egypt who were behind the rebellions and the protesting against the government. And they were using this beautiful name to get the youth to get behind them
to lure them in. To lure them in.
Yeah.
But you don't see the true Salafi. He's more so worried about his adherence. He's more so worried about the adherence. Is he's really following the Salaf? Can he really take on that claim? This is why Sheikh Uthaymeen mentioned about a person who says, I'm a mu'min, ana mu'min.
No.
Mutlaqan. We don't say ana mu'min. That's bad adab.
No.
We say ana mu'min inshallah. No. I am a believer inshallah.
Exactly.
We hope that we are believers.
Exactly.
The same thing with that is the same thing with Salafi.
Yeah. Inshallah.
I hope that I am
on the correct way.
I hope that I am following and adhering to the Salaf according to the same manner that they adhere to this blessed da'wah.
No.
And Sunnah.
Sheikh Hassan, Hafizullah, you did the whole book Aqidah Wasatiyah. Never used the word Salafi. I never heard Sheikh Hassan say it. I mean, the only time I ever heard Sheikh Mahmoud ever say the word Salafi is when the government asked him about what is the position of the Salafiyun dealing with the person in power. So Sheikh Mahmoud, his response was Salafiyyah and the Hakim. Salafiyyah and Morsi. Salafiyyah and Mubarak. That's the only time I ever heard him use it, when he was asked a question and he was saying, because the different groups who was using the name Salafiyyah was protesting. So the question was asked to some of the early man in Egypt, what is the position of Salafiyyah and the Umara? And the response was Salafiyyah and the Umara, Salafiyyah and Muhammad Morsi, Salafiyyah and Hosni Mubarak, yada, yada, yada. That's the only time I ever heard the Sheikh outwardly use that word.
So if we don't see this in the action of our ulama, those who we say that we take from them, those who we say that they understand the text better than us, those who we say that we follow by their lead, we don't see them doing that with their conference.
No.
We don't see them doing that with their masajids. Go over there right now and find me a masjid that says Salafi on it. I challenge you. Ask any student that you deem respectable in any land that he studied in, that he had a masjid that he studied from, any scholars that called it the correct way, that they had the word Salafi on it. on the masjid.
Sheikh Raslan built the whole school. It's not the word Salafi not nowhere in the school, let alone on it.
Again, you need to understand where the brother is coming from. They don't hate the title in and of itself.
No.
Actually, they adhere to it. They're more so worried about the actions.
Exactly.
This is why the brother said at the end, these people have formed a new group.
Mm-hmm.
This is not what Sheikh Al-Albani, Rahmatullah Ta'ala alayhi, was talking about when he was clearing the nisbah and taking on the nisbah Salafiyyah. He wasn't talking about this. He wasn't talking about this. He was showing the importance that you can adhere to it, because you might have a Shiri, you might have a Sufi who, quote unquote, claim to follow Kitab wa Sunnah. Okay, according to who understanding are you following the Kitab and Sunnah? You understand? So it's important that we understand it. That doesn't mean that now we run around and do these things. And this is why it can fall under what we call a new group, forming a new group.
Exactly.
Because all our events are Salafi. All our massages have to say Salafi. When we get together, the gathering have to be a Salafi. Our names have to have titles of Salafi. The first thing we have to ask if we want to, at a sit down, or we want to talk to somebody or interact with somebody, is he Salafi? We walk past a masjid, the first thing we ask is he Salafi?
SubhanAllah. This not from the Catholics of the
First of all, that's a problem for me. Yeah. Why is it a problem? Because if you a layman and you can't walk inside any place and tell whether or not what they're calling to by listening to the words, key things or factors to stick out to, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. You don't have to hear the word Salafi to say that person is Salafi. Because a person who says he's Salafi can be the opposite of saying he's Salafi. Henceforth the chapter. The Suru Salafi set.
And you're right, because even everybody in the masjid, one thing that you had to learn when you're dealing when we was overseas, they have a lot of sects. You want to see real innovation, they go to a Muslim country in the Middle East. And you know how we knew somebody wasn't on the Sunnah? He may dress like us, may talk like us, had the same white thobe on. But there's one issue. Hakimiyya. When the issue came up about the governments, that's how we knew. And we didn't walk around testing everybody. We just listened. We was in a masjid, and we said we wanted to go there and benefit. And we went to that masjid, and we heard a person talking. He's giving a class on Aqidah Wasatiyah, and we'll listen. But then he started talking about the government and stuff like that. We want to take that from him. But every scholar I would ask, whether it was Sheikh Raslan or Sheikh Mahmoud, any of them, we asked Sheikh Hassan, all of them, they saying that if you're in the area where a person is teaching some of the books of the Sunnah, he said you take the benefit. Like they asked about Azhar. Sheikh Hassan, all of them said, go there. They book your Aqidah from us. Nobody said this absolute leave people, this absolute turn away from all the Muslims, and this absolute idea of if they not Salafi, then we don't know them to be the Sunnah. We totally turn away from them. I've never heard a scholar say that.
There's people who said it. It's not the scholar saying it. No. It's the new group that formed themselves into the Salafis. This is why you call them the pseudo Salafis. Those who came up with their own divide principles, their own set of principles. This is the same thing the Shiites did when they kept claiming this false prophethood for Ali ibn Abi Talib, who never claimed this for themselves.
No.
They started making all their law principles and stuff like that. Ahlul Bayt should have had it. Abu Bakr stole the mantle. This and that. He stole the caliphate. All of this stuff. Yeah. So they started making it around. And then they fear the layman. The layman, these tactics are used on the layman because the layman say, okay, but they quoting all the scholars. They have a little bit, they quoting the scholars. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're quoting it for what agenda, though? Mm-hmm. Is they following everything that scholar particularly said?
Exactly.
It's important, inshallah ta'ala.
Muslims are obliged to follow the Salafi methodology and turn away from everything that contradicts it. It is insufficient to assert adherence to minhaj as salaf while remaining ignorant of what that entails. Thus, if a Muslim identifies himself as Salafi, he ought to have knowledge and implementation of its injunctions.
And this is the same thing that Sheikh Fawzan Hafizullah had mentioned, that there are two conditions in terms of a person taking on the title as Salafi. And if the person doesn't have these two conditions and understand these two conditions, la yajuz, the Sheikh said. Sheikh Fawzan said, la yajuz. It's not permissible for a person to call himself a Salafi if he do not know who the Salaf is. That's the first condition. And number two, he does not know what? Their methodology.
Yep.
If he don't know who the Salaf is, and number two, he doesn't know their methodology. Majority of the people that run around calling themselves Salafi right now, if you ask them what is the Salaf, they can't tell you. They're going to mention the 3 generations. And that might be in a broader sense, but they still can't tell you exactly what it is that the Salaf actually agree upon. What it is that the Salaf we supposed to follow. They won't tell you these particular things.
No, they won't tell you that.
But they would say, Aki, What masjid do you go to?
Subhanallah.
And then they will sum that masjid up. Well, what people do you listen to? And they sum up the people that you listen to. And in their mind, they would say that, yeah, you're Salafi.
Subhanallah.
And that's their basis to say that you're Salafi.
So you're saying that Salafiyyah amongst this particular group, these Salafists, this new group, goes back to people who exist right now. It doesn't even go back to the Sahaba.
No, because they don't know about them. They don't know about
it. Doesn't go back to them. It doesn't go back to them.
They don't know about the Sahaba.
So they saying that they don't know Salafiyyah is what they had ijma' upon. They don't know that.
No, they don't know that because they have allowed and placed their deen into the hands of other individuals. This is why it's very important to always make sure you go back. Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَقَفُ لَيْسَ بِهِ وَلَا عِلْمٍ وَلَا تَقَفُ لَيْسَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Allah Jalla wa Ala said, do not follow anything you have no knowledge of.
SubhanAllah. No.
So you have to have knowledge of that particular thing. And this is what our brother ended this beautiful chapter with in terms of dealing with. And he brought some strong statements of the ulama, and those statements we ask everybody to reflect on them, even ourselves, and ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to allow us to truly understand who the Salaf is and to truly try to follow their methodology and minhaj. I pray that Allah Jalla wa Ala do allow me to become a Salafi in truth.
You know, Sheikh Suhaimi said.
Yeah, al-Jad. In truth, inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah.
I'm still studying who they are. I'm still trying to find my way in terms of who they are and read their biographies. And, you know, and just trying to utilize them in my everyday life practical. But, you know, alhamdulillah, there is a time, and we don't want nobody to get this from the article nor from me and the brother in front of you. There is a time where you have to use the nisbah, where it becomes obligatory to use the nisbah as Salafi, and we agree with that. And there are times when you don't, as the brother Sheikh Muhsin mentioned, you don't have to say it to the person in the grocery store. You know, these are certain times you definitely don't have to say it. So inshallah ta'ala, stay tuned for our next 5-minute wake-up session. We'll have it soon, inshallah ta'ala, and we will be going over this particular article in more detail, and hopefully it will try to, you know, wake up the minds of the people, especially the laymen from amongst us, and realize that hopefully we don't have none of these type of characteristics, and if we do, that we work on one another and aid one another to, you know, leave them off, inshallah.